The human ship Aurora's Edge moved slowly through space toward the giant station that floated near Kepler Prime. Ambassador Lisa Carter sat in her chair on the bridge, looking at the datapad in her hands. The words on the screen made her feel sick. After 50 years of being part of the Galactic Council, humanity had been called to answer for their crimes. Captain Jake Morrison watched the massive structure grow larger on the main screen. He had seen many alien buildings before, but this one was different. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than Earth's largest space station. Ships from 12 different alien races floated around it like metal fish in a dark ocean. Most of these ships had weapons that could destroy entire planets. "How many warships do you count, Jake?" Lisa asked without looking up from her pad. "Too many," Jake said. His voice was quiet. "More than I've ever seen in one place. The Council really wants to make sure we listen." Dr. Alex Bennett, the team's alien expert, moved closer to the window. He was a thin man with gray hair who had spent his whole life studying other species. "I count ships from at least 8 Council races. The Xanthari have brought their battle cruisers, the Vex have their crystal ships, even the peaceful Delphinians have combat vessels here." General Patricia Hayes stood near the back of the bridge. She was a tough woman who had fought in 3 wars to protect human colonies. Her face showed no fear, but her hand stayed near her weapon. "They're trying to scare us," she said. "Question is, what are they so scared of that they need this much? Firepower?" The communication system made a beeping sound. A voice that sounded like metal, scraping against stone, came through the speakers. "Human vessel Aurora's Edge, you will dock at Base 7. Your delegation will be escorted to the council chamber in 1 hour. Do not deviate from the marked path." Jake looked at Lisa. "Friendly bunch." Lisa closed her datapad and stood up. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. The small flags on her shoulders showed she spoke for all of humanity. It was a heavy weight to carry. "Remember, we're here to listen and learn, nothing more. We don't make any promises or agreements without talking to Earth first." The docking process took 20 minutes. The Aurora's Edge was tiny compared to the alien ships around it. When they finally attached to the station, Jake could feel the artificial gravity change. The aliens used different settings than humans did. 2 Xanthari guards waited for them at the airlock. These creatures stood 9 feet tall and looked like walking lizards made of muscle and scales. Their eyes were yellow and never blinked. They carried energy weapons that could cut through steel. "You will follow," one guard said in broken human language. "No talking, no stopping, no touching anything." The human delegation walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls were made of some smooth, dark material that reflected their faces like black mirrors. Aliens of all kinds moved past them. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of gas held together by energy fields. A few looked almost human, except for their silver skin and eyes that had no pupils. Lisa tried to count the different species she saw, but gave up after reaching 20. Each one had different technology, different clothing, different ways of moving. Yet they all seemed to belong here. Humans felt like visitors in someone else's house. The council chamber was the biggest room any human had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. Thousands of seats rose up in circles around a central platform. Most of the seats were filled with creatures that humanity had only heard about in reports. At the center of the room was something that hurt to look at directly. It was called the ethereal speaker, and it was made of pure energy that shifted between colors like liquid light. This being spoke for the entire council. It was older than human civilization. "Humans?" The speaker's voice filled the chamber without using sound. The words appeared directly in their minds. "You have been called to answer for your actions." Lisa stepped forward. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice stayed steady. "We are honored to appear before the council. Earth sends greetings to all member species. Greetings are not why you are here." The speaker's light grew brighter. "In 50 years, your species has broken more rules than any other new member in our history." Images appeared in the air above them. Pictures of human colonies on distant worlds. Ships full of families looking for new homes. Factories built on planets that had been empty for millions of years. "You have colonized 17 worlds without proper authorization," the speaker continued. You have refused to adopt standard galactic technologies. You have expanded faster than any species should. Most serious of all, you have ignored our guidance about proper development. General Hayes stepped forward. Our expansion was necessary. Earth was dying. Our people needed new homes. Necessity does not excuse law-breaking, said a voice from the Zenthari section. The alien representative was even bigger than the guards, with scars across his scales. Young species must learn discipline. Dr. Bennett raised his hand. With respect, Counselor, humanity has always tried to follow galactic law. If we made mistakes, they were honest ones. Honest mistakes? The crystalline Vex representative's voice sounded like singing glass. Your species treats the galaxy like it belongs to you. You take what you want and ask permission later. Lisa felt anger rising in her chest, but kept her voice calm. What exactly are you asking of us? The speaker's light pulsed. Humanity will submit to guided development. You will accept council oversight of all military forces. You will surrender control of your colonial governments. You will relocate your people from all unauthorized worlds. You will adopt standard technologies and abandon your primitive innovations. The words hit Lisa like physical blows. They weren't asking for cooperation. They were demanding complete surrender. And if we refuse? She asked. No species has ever refused, the speaker replied. But if you choose that path, humanity will face complete isolation. No trade, no support, no protection. The galaxy is dangerous for those who stand alone. Lisa looked at her team. Jake's face was pale. Alex was shaking his head slowly. Patricia's hand was definitely on her weapon now. We need time to consider these terms, Lisa said. You have 72 hours, the speaker announced. Return with humanity's acceptance, and you will be welcomed as proper members of galactic society. Return with refusal and face the consequences. As they walked back to their ship, none of the humans spoke. Each one knew that they carried the future of their entire species in their hands. The choice ahead would change everything, and there seemed to be no good options. The Council had made their demands clear. Now humanity had to decide what freedom was worth. The emergency meeting room in the Earth Government building was full of worried faces. President Kevin Walsh sat at the head of the long table, looking older than his 60 years. Around him sat the most important people on Earth: military leaders, scientists, colony representatives, and economic advisors, all waited to hear what the Galactic Council had demanded. Ambassador Lisa Carter stood at the front of the room next to a large screen. The images she showed made everyone in the room feel sick. Lists of human colonies that would be abandoned, military ships that would be surrendered, technologies that would be banned. They want everything, Lisa said. Her voice was tired. The trip back from the council station had taken 2 days, and she had not slept. Complete control over our military. Council-appointed governors for every colony. All our research projects shut down, and they want us to move everyone off 17 worlds. General Carl Thompson, the head of Earth's Defense Forces, slammed his fist on the table. 17 worlds? That's millions of people. Families who have lived there for decades. They want us to just pack up and leave? Dr. Susan Lee, Earth's top scientist, pulled up data on her tablet. It's worse than that. They want us to stop all independent research. No more work on faster engines, no more new weapons, no more medical advances. We have to use their old technology and nothing else. How old? President Walsh asked. Some of their standard technologies haven't been updated in 3,000 years, Dr. Lee said. They work, but they don't improve. They don't innovate. It's like they've stopped trying to make things better. Secretary of Commerce Helen Torres looked at her reports. The economic impact would be devastating. We'd have to rebuild our entire industrial system. Millions of jobs would disappear overnight. And we'd be completely dependent on council trade routes. A communication screen lit up at the far end of the room. Governor Tim Roberts appeared, calling from the colony world of New Montana. Behind him, other colonists could be seen working in what looked like a large meeting hall. Mr. President, Tim said, we've been listening to the reports. New Montana is on the evacuation list. President Walsh nodded sadly. I know, Tim. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry yet, Tim replied. We've been talking it over. All 2 million of us. We've voted, and the result was unanimous. We're not leaving. The room fell silent. Governor Roberts continued. We've spent 15 years making this world livable. When we got here, the air was poison and the ground was rock. We built atmosphere, processors. We brought in soil from Earth. We planted forests. This isn't just where we live now. This is our home. Engineer Maria Santos appeared next to Tim on the screen. She was covered in dirt from working in the terraforming plants. My children were born here. My husband is buried here. This world is part of us now. We won't abandon it just because some aliens think we moved too fast. More screens lit up around the room. Colony after colony called in with the same message. New Texas, New Ireland, New Kenya, Freedom's Hope, Liberty Station. 47 human worlds in total, and every single one said the same thing. They would rather fight than surrender. President Walsh rubbed his face with both hands. The Council has warships that can destroy planets. We have maybe 100 military vessels total. It wouldn't even be a fair fight. Maybe fighting isn't the answer, said a quiet voice from the back of the room. Dr. Alex Bennett, who had been sitting silently through the whole meeting, finally spoke up. What if we don't fight them or surrender to them? What do you mean? The president asked. Dr. Bennett stood up. He was still wearing his travel clothes from the trip to the council station. What if we just leave? Walk away from the whole thing. Tell them we quit. General Thompson laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Quit the Galactic Council? Alex, no species has ever done that. They wouldn't let us. Would they stop us? Dr. Bennett asked. Think about it. They want us to be obedient members of their club. But what if we're not members at all? What if we just take our ships, our colonies, our people, and say goodbye? Dr. Lee was already working on her tablet. Actually, that's interesting. The council rules are all about controlling member species. But what about non-members? What's their authority over species who aren't part of their system? Legally none, said Attorney General Robert Chang, who had been quiet until now. The council treaties only apply to member species. If we're not members, we're not bound by their rules. But we'd also lose all protection, Secretary Torres pointed out. No trade agreements, no mutual defense treaties, no access to council space lanes or neutral ports. President Walsh was quiet for a long time. Everyone in the room waited. Finally, he looked up at the screens showing all the colony governors, Tim, Maria, all of you. If Earth decided to leave the council completely, would your worlds support that decision? The answer came back immediately from every screen. Yes. Even if it meant being completely on our own? No alien allies, no safety net, no backup if things go wrong? Yes, they said again. We'd rather be free and poor than rich and slaves. Dr. Lee was getting excited as she worked on her calculations. You know what? This might actually work better than staying in the council. Their technology is old because they don't allow innovation. But humans are good at innovation. We solve problems in new ways. Without their rules holding us back, we might advance faster on our own. General Thompson was looking at military reports. I've been studying council fleet movements for years. They're predictable. They follow the same patterns they've used for centuries. Our ships are newer and more flexible. In small groups, we might actually have advantages. What about resources? President Walsh asked. We depend on council trade for a lot of rare materials. We're already working on alternatives, Dr. Lee said. We found substitutes for about 60% of what we import. Give us a few years, without council restrictions, and we could be completely independent. The room was starting to feel different. Instead of despair, there was something that might have been hope. There's something else, Dr. Bennett said. During our time on the council station, I talked to representatives from some of the smaller species. A lot of them aren't happy with council control either. They just don't have the courage to say anything. If we leave first, we might not be alone for long. President Walsh stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of the city where humans lived and worked and raised their children. These people had survived ice ages, wars, plagues, and environmental disasters. They had spread to the stars in just a few hundred years. Maybe they could survive this too. If we do this, he said without turning around, there's no going back. Once we walk away from the council, they'll never let us return on equal terms. Good, said Governor Roberts from New Montana. We don't want to return. We want to move forward. President Walsh turned back to face the room. For the first time since Lisa had delivered the Council's demands, he smiled. "Lisa," he said, "I need you to go back to that station. But this time you're not going to negotiate. You're going to quit." The Council chamber looked exactly the same as it had 3 days ago, but everything felt different to Ambassador Lisa Carter. The same thousands of alien creatures filled the circular seats. The same ethereal speaker floated in the center, its energy form shifting between colors. But this time, Lisa was not here to ask for mercy or negotiate terms. She walked to the center platform with steady steps. Captain Jake Morrison, Dr. Alex Bennett, and General Patricia Hayes followed behind. Here, each human carried a small case containing the formal documents of their response to the Council's demands. The ethereal speaker's light grew brighter as Lisa approached. "Humans, you have had your time to consider. What is your species' decision?" Lisa looked around the enormous chamber. Thousands of alien eyes, sensors, and energy fields focused on her. She had practiced this moment many times during the trip back to the station, but her heart still beat fast. What she was about to say had never been said before in the Council's 10,000-year history. "Honored Speaker, representatives of the 12 founding species, we thank you for the time you have given us to consider your terms." The chamber was completely quiet. Even the soft humming of alien breathing apparatus seemed to stop. "However," Lisa continued, her voice growing stronger, "humanity has decided that we cannot accept your conditions." A sound like thunder rolled through the chamber. The Zenthari representative rose from his seat, his massive form casting shadows across the lower levels. "Young species always resist at first. You will learn to accept guidance as all others have." "No," Lisa said clearly. "We will not." The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Dr. Bennett stepped forward and opened his case. Inside were documents sealed with Earth's official emblems. "Humanity formally withdraws from the Galactic Council," Lisa announced. "We return our membership tokens, void all Council treaties, and reclaim complete sovereignty over human space and colonies." The silence that followed was different from before. This was the silence of shock. The Vex representative's crystalline form began to vibrate, creating a high-pitched whine. Several insect-like hive creatures clicked their mandibles rapidly. Even species that Lisa had never seen show emotion seemed agitated. The ethereal speaker's light flashed between red and white. "Impossible. No species leaves the Council. No species has ever left the Council." "Then we will be the first," Lisa replied. General Hayes stepped forward with her own case. "All Council monitoring stations in human territory will be shut down within 30 days. Council ships will no longer be welcome in our space. All joint military exercises are canceled." The chamber erupted into chaos. The Zenthari representative was roaring something in his own language that the translation systems couldn't handle. Several species were standing and gesturing angrily. The aquatic Delphinian delegate was making rapid bubble patterns that meant extreme distress. "Silence!" the speaker commanded, and the noise stopped instantly. "Human ambassador, you do not understand what you are doing. The galaxy is dangerous. There are pirates, raiders, ancient weapons, space anomalies. The Council exists to protect young species from these threats." Lisa had expected this argument. "We appreciate the Council's protection over the past 50 years, but we believe that freedom is more valuable than safety." "Freedom?" The elderly Wise One representative spoke for the first time. This species was older than most others in the Council, and their words carried weight. "What freedom do you have when your worlds are burning? What freedom when your colonies are attacked by raiders? What freedom when ancient automated war machines target your ships?" Dr. Bennett opened another document. "We have studied the Council's protection records for the past century. Most of the threats you mention are actually created or made worse by Council policies. Pirates operate in areas where Council law is unclear. Raiders attack species who are not allowed to defend themselves properly. Ancient weapons are problems because the Council forbids research into counter-technologies." The speaker's light grew dimmer. "You would face these dangers alone rather than accept our guidance?" "Yes," all 4 humans said at the same time. "Then you are fools," said the Zenthari. Your species will be extinct within 10 years. Maybe 5. Maybe, General Hayes replied, but we'll die as free beings, not as comfortable pets. Lisa reached into her case and pulled out a small device. It contained humanity's membership codes, communication keys, and formal recognition as a council species. She held it up so the entire chamber could see it. 50 years ago, humanity was honored to join the Galactic Council. We learned much from our membership. We made friends among many species. We discovered wonders we never imagined. She paused, looking around at the faces and forms of creatures from across the galaxy. But we also learned that there are different kinds of wisdom. The Council's wisdom is the wisdom of safety, of tradition, of doing things the way they have always been done. Humanity's wisdom is different. It's the wisdom of taking risks, of trying new things, of believing that tomorrow can be better than today. The speaker's voice was quieter now. And if you are wrong, if your risks lead to disaster, then we'll face that disaster as free beings who made our own choices. Lisa placed the device on the platform and stepped back. This is humanity's formal resignation from the Galactic Council. Our membership is ended. Our territories are no longer part of Council space. Our ships will no longer follow Council regulations. She turned to face the 12 founding species. To those of you who wish to maintain individual relationships with humanity, we welcome continued friendship. To those who choose to honor the Council's authority over their own judgment, we understand and wish you well. Captain Morrison activated a recording device. This message will be broadcast to every human colony, every human ship, and every human outpost. As of this moment, humanity stands alone among the stars. We will make our own path, face our own dangers, and build our own future. The chamber was completely silent again. The ethereal speaker's light had dimmed to barely visible levels. When it finally spoke, its voice was sad. In 10,000 years, no species has chosen isolation over protection. Many have tried to resist our guidance, but all eventually accepted our wisdom. You are making a mistake that will cost millions of human lives. Lisa picked up her empty case and walked toward the exit. The other humans followed. As they reached the doors, she turned back one final time. Maybe you're right. Maybe we'll fail and die alone out there. But maybe we'll succeed in ways none of us can imagine. Maybe we'll find something better than safety. Maybe we'll find a way to grow and change and become something new. She paused at the threshold. Thank you for everything you taught us. But now it's time for humanity to teach itself. The 4 humans walked out of the council chamber. Behind them, 12 ancient species sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what had just happened. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council was no longer unanimous. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had said no. The door closed with a soft hiss, leaving humanity on one side and the rest of the galaxy on the other. The walk out was complete. Now came the hard part. Captain Ryan Foster stared at the message on his ship's communication screen and felt his stomach drop. The cargo vessel Freedom's Call was carrying medical supplies to the neutral trading station at Proxima Junction, but now the station master was telling him to turn around and leave. "I'm sorry, Captain Foster," the alien station master said through the translator. His species looked like a giant flower with eyes, but his voice sounded genuinely apologetic. "Council Directive 447B forbids all member stations from serving ships flying under human registry. I cannot allow you to dock." Ryan had been a cargo captain for 15 years. He had delivered supplies to dozens of worlds and never been turned away before. "What about our contracts? We've been trading here for 8 years. All human contracts are void as of yesterday. I am truly sorry. My people have always found humans to be honest traders." The communication ended, leaving Ryan alone on his bridge. His ship was full of medicine that sick people needed, but now he had nowhere to deliver it. He activated the emergency communication channel to talk to other human ships. "This is Freedom's Call, calling any human vessel. Anyone else getting locked out of neutral ports?" Responses came back immediately from across human space. Ship after ship reported the same thing. Trading stations, fuel depots, repair facilities. Even emergency medical centers were refusing to serve human vessels. The Council's economic blockade was complete and devastating. 3 days later, on the industrial world of New Pittsburgh, factory supervisor Linda Clark watched the last production line shut down. Her facility made computer components that were used in ships throughout human space, but the work required rare metals that only came from Council worlds. "How long can we keep the plant running on stockpiled materials?" she asked her assistant, Bob Martinez. Bob looked at his inventory reports and shook his head. "Maybe 2 weeks. 3 if we cut production by half." Linda walked through the empty factory floor where 5,000 people had worked just days before. These workers had families to feed and bills to pay. The Council's blockade wasn't just hurting human trade, it was destroying human communities. But the response from humanity surprised everyone, including humans themselves. Dr. Susan Lee stood in her laboratory on Luna Station, surrounded by the brightest scientists from 20 human worlds. They had been working for 72 hours straight, surviving on coffee and determination. "The Council thinks they can stop us by cutting off our supply chains," she told her team. "They're about to learn how wrong they are." On the main screen, she showed a molecular diagram of corvathium, a rare metal that human technology depended on. Council worlds controlled the only known sources, and they had just cut off all exports to human space. "We can't mine corvathium," she said. "But we don't have to. Dr. Kim's team in Seoul has found a way to synthesize an artificial substitute using materials we can find in any asteroid field." The room filled with excited voices as scientists realized what this meant. Dr. Jennifer Kim appeared on a communication screen from Earth. "The synthetic version is actually better than natural corvathium. It's more stable and conducts energy 20% more efficiently." Similar breakthroughs were happening across human space. When Council species stopped selling fuel to human ships, human engineers developed new reactor designs that used hydrogen from any star system. When alien food suppliers canceled their contracts, human agricultural stations expanded production and discovered new ways to grow crops in space. On New Montana, Governor Tim Roberts called a colony-wide meeting. The main hall was packed with families who had been told they would have to abandon their homes. "I know you're all worried," Tim said. "The Council blockade is real, and it's going to make life harder for a while. But I want to show you something." He activated a holographic display showing cargo ships moving between human colonies. "These are supply runs organized in the past week. New Texas is sending us grain. Liberty Station is sharing their manufacturing equipment. New Ireland is offering to take refugees from any colony that can't support its full population. Maria," Santos stood up from the audience. "We're not refugees. We're pioneers. Our grandparents came to the stars with nothing but courage and determination. We can do the same." The crowd began to murmur agreement. Tim continued. "The Council thinks that cutting us off will make us weak. They don't understand that isolation makes humans stronger. When we have no choice but to depend on each other, we discover what we're really capable of." But the most surprising development came from an unexpected source. Captain Emma Davis was commanding the exploration vessel Pathfinder in the Outer Rim territories when her sensors detected a massive fleet approaching from outside known space. The ships were unlike anything in Council records. They were built from many different technologies, as if dozens of species had worked together to create them. When they hailed the Pathfinder, the voice that came through was speaking perfect human English. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Kess of the Nomad Fleet. We come in friendship." Emma had never heard of the Nomad Fleet, but something about the voice made her trust it. "This is Captain Davis. What can we do for you, Admiral?" "We have been watching your species with great interest, Captain Davis. Your recent departure from the Council was impressive. You know about that? We know many things. My fleet represents 17 species who left Council space rather than submit to their authority. We have been waiting a long time for another species brave enough to join us." Emma felt her heart race. "You mean we're not alone out here?" "Far from it. The galaxy is larger than the Council pretends. There are dozens of independent civilizations who chose freedom over security. We call ourselves the Free Worlds Alliance." The communication continued for hours as Admiral Kess explained how the Nomad Fleet operated. They shared technology freely between species. They helped each other defend against pirates and raiders. Most importantly, they governed themselves without any central authority telling them what they could and couldn't do. "We would like to offer humanity membership in our alliance," Admiral Kess said. "Not as junior members who must prove themselves, but as equals who have already proven their courage." Back on Earth, President Kevin Walsh received reports from across human space. The Council's blockade was causing real hardship, but it was also causing something else: innovation and cooperation on a scale humanity had never seen before. Colony governors were working together without being ordered to. Scientists were sharing discoveries instantly across dozens of worlds. Factory workers were learning new skills to replace the jobs they had lost. Most surprisingly, human ships were making contact with other species that had also rejected Council authority. The President's communication system chimed with an incoming message marked as highest priority. The image that appeared showed Admiral Kess, who definitely wasn't human but somehow looked trustworthy anyway. "President Walsh, I bring an invitation from the Free Worlds Alliance. Your species has shown the courage to stand alone. Now we offer you the chance to stand with friends." As President Walsh listened to the Admiral's proposal, he realized that the Council had made a critical mistake. They thought that cutting humanity off from their system would make humans weak and desperate. Instead, it had forced humanity to discover resources and allies they never knew existed. The blockade was supposed to bring humanity crawling back to the Council within months. Instead, it was pushing humanity towards something that might be much better than Council membership had ever been. The consequences of walking out were real and serious, but they were also unexpected and full of new possibilities that no one had imagined. 2 years after the walkout, Admiral Karen Stone stood on the bridge of the starship New Frontier and watched something that would have been impossible under Council rule. Ships from 18 different species flew in formation around her vessel, all working together as equals in the Free Worlds Alliance. The New Frontier itself was a symbol of what humanity had accomplished since leaving the Council. Built using technologies that combined human innovation with knowledge freely shared by their new allies, it was faster and more powerful than any ship the Council possessed. More importantly, it had been designed by engineers from 6 different species working together. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority communication from Liberty Point," her communications officer reported. Lieutenant Dave Clark was young, but he had been trained by the best officers from 3 different worlds. "Put it through, Lieutenant." The image of President Kevin Walsh appeared on the main screen. He looked older than he had 2 years ago, but also more confident. Leading humanity through independence had been hard work, but it was clearly work he believed in. "Karen, how's the patrol going?" "Quiet, sir. The pirate activity in Sector 7 has dropped to almost nothing since we started joint patrols with the Nomad fleet. Turns out raiders don't like facing ships they can't predict." "Good to hear. I have news from Earth. Dr. Lee's team has made another breakthrough. They've developed a new faster-than-light drive that doesn't require any of the materials the Council controls." Admiral Stone smiled. "How much faster?" 50% improvement over our current engines, and Admiral Kess thinks her people can help us improve it even more. This was how the Free Worlds Alliance worked. When one species made a discovery, they shared it with everyone. When someone faced a problem, others offered help. It was completely different from the Council's system, where new technologies were controlled and restricted. On the bridge, Dr. Alex Bennett looked up from his science station. He had been promoted to Chief Science Officer for the entire Alliance fleet. "Admiral, you should see what our long-range sensors are picking up." The main screen changed to show deep space readings. Far beyond the edge of known space, massive objects were moving toward the galaxy at incredible speed. "What are we looking at, Alex?" "Ships, ma'am. Thousands of them. Maybe millions. They're coming from outside our galaxy entirely, and based on their energy signatures, they're not here to make friends." Admiral Stone felt cold fear run down her spine. An invasion from another galaxy was something that had never happened before. It was the kind of threat that no one had planned for. How long until they reach inhabited space? At their current speed, maybe 6 months. Send this data to every ship in the Alliance fleet. Then get me a direct line to the Council station. Lieutenant Clark looked surprised. "Ma'am, we haven't had any contact with the Council since the walkout." That's about to change. An hour later, Admiral Stone found herself in the strange position of requesting permission to speak to the same alien leaders that humanity had walked away from. The ethereal speaker appeared on her screen, its energy form dimmer than she remembered. Human. Admiral, this is unexpected. Speaker, we've detected an invasion fleet approaching from outside the galaxy. I'm transmitting the sensor data now. There was a long pause as the Council analyzed the information. When the speaker responded, its voice carried a tone that Admiral Stone had never heard before. Fear. We have detected these signals as well. Our scientists believe they represent a coordinated attack by an unknown civilization. The invasion force is larger than anything in our records. The Free Worlds Alliance is prepared to help defend the galaxy, but we need to coordinate our response with all available forces, including the Council. Another pause. This one even longer. The Council's military doctrine has not changed in 2,000 years, the speaker admitted. Our fleets follow established patterns and use approved technologies. These invaders will not follow our established patterns. Admiral Stone understood what the speaker wasn't saying directly. The Council's rigid system was not designed to handle completely new threats. Their ships were powerful but predictable. Their tactics were effective but inflexible. Against an enemy that didn't follow galactic rules, they would be at a disadvantage. Speaker, the Alliance has been developing new approaches to fleet combat. Our ships use adaptive tactics and experimental technologies. We might be better equipped to face unknown enemies. Are you offering to help defend Council space? We're offering to help defend the galaxy, all of it. The response came not from the speaker, but from a voice Admiral Stone recognized. It was the Zenthari representative who had threatened humanity during the walkout. Why would you help us? We tried to force your species into submission, because this is bigger than our disagreements. If these invaders destroy the Council, they'll come for us next. If they destroy us, they'll come for you. We're stronger together than apart. Over the next several months, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. Council forces and Alliance ships began training together, sharing intelligence, and developing joint strategies. Human innovations in adaptive combat were combined with Council knowledge of galactic geography. Alliance flexibility was matched with Council resources. Dr. Susan Lee worked with scientists from 12 Council species to develop new weapons systems. General Carl Thompson coordinated defense plans with military leaders who had once considered him a rebel. Most importantly, thousands of young beings from dozens of species learned to work together in ways their governments had never imagined. When the invasion finally came, the galaxy was ready with a defense that no single government could have mounted. The battle lasted 3 days and covered 17 star systems. Council dreadnoughts provided the heavy firepower while Alliance ships used hit-and-run tactics to disrupt enemy formations. Human creativity combined with alien experience proved devastatingly effective. Captain Emma Davis, now commanding a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels, led the attack that destroyed the enemy flagship. Her tactical approach used maneuvers that Council doctrine said were impossible, but which worked perfectly against enemies who had never seen them before. In the end, the invasion was defeated not because any one species was superior, but because dozens of different civilizations had learned to combine their strengths while covering each other's weaknesses. After the victory, Ambassador Lisa Carter found herself back in the Council chamber for the first time since the walkout. But this time, she wasn't alone. Representatives from all 18 Alliance species stood with her, and they weren't there to apologize or ask for permission. The ethereal speaker's light was brighter than it had been in years. The galaxy owes a great debt to the Free Worlds Alliance. Without your assistance, the invasion might have succeeded. We did what needed to be done, Lisa replied. The question now is what happens next. The Council formally requests that humanity and its allies rejoin our organization. Lisa smiled. That's generous, Speaker, but we're not interested in rejoining your Council. The chamber filled with surprised sounds from dozens of species. However, Lisa continued, we'd be happy to discuss forming a new organization. One where all members have equal voices and equal rights. One where innovation is encouraged instead of controlled. One where species can choose their own paths while still working together. The speaker's light pulsed thoughtfully. You propose to replace the Council? We propose to improve it. The old system worked for 10,000 years, but the galaxy has changed. The threats we face now are different from the ones our ancestors faced. We need new approaches, new ideas, new ways of working together. And if we refuse? Lisa looked around the chamber at the thousands of representatives from council species. Many of them were young beings who had fought beside alliance forces during the invasion. They had seen what was possible when different species worked together, as equals instead of following rigid hierarchies. Then you refuse. The alliance will continue to exist and grow. Other species will join us. Eventually, there will be 2 different systems in the galaxy, and beings will choose which one they prefer. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Ancient species argued about tradition, while younger ones spoke about change. Some demanded that things return to the way they had always been. Others insisted that the old ways had nearly led to galactic destruction. In the end, the vote was close but decisive. The Galactic Council agreed to dissolve itself and reform as the Galactic Alliance, with new rules that guaranteed equality and encouraged innovation. Admiral Stone watched the ceremony from the observation deck of Liberty Point, humanity's new capital station. Ships from 47 different species filled the space around them, all flying under the same banner for the first time in galactic history. "Think it will work?" Captain Morrison asked. He had been promoted to station commander after years of faithful service. "Probably not perfectly," Admiral Stone replied. "But it'll work better than the old system, and when it stops working, we'll change it again." That was humanity's gift to the galaxy, not superior technology or military might, but the simple idea that things could always be improved, that the future didn't have to look like the past, that sometimes the best way forward was to walk away from everything you'd known and try something completely new. The walk out had ended. The walk forward had begun.